Welcome back to Dummy Boy Finance. I'm Dummy Boy, and in this video we're gonna go over shipping stocks like NAT, STNG, TNK, because the shipping sector has been absolutely abused the last couple months, and I want to explain why right now may be a great time to buy and hold for the long term. So the first thing that I'm going to mention here for the shipping stocks is this right here, that we are at record steel prices right now. And so the title here, you could see record steel prices inject life into long-suffering industry. Prices have boomed worldwide this year, smashing record after record. And so why this is going to be so big for the shipping industry is because in 2020, there was a mandate called IMO 2020, where ships had to comply with certain sulfur regulations and install scrubbers in their ships. And so some ships did decide to install these expensive scrubbers, whereas some ships decided to just stick what they already have and then eventually scrap their ships and then take use of what the steel prices are today. So there's a bunch of ways you can play this shipping sector bull run that we are going to see now for the next decade, in my opinion. And the first way is to capitalize on the companies who have actually installed these scrubbers, who have eco fleets, who have created their ships to comply with IMO 2020, because the next mandate is in 2030. So it's going to be less likely that companies are going to make new builds, because there is a risk that their new build may not comply with the next mandate. So what's going to happen is they have to run with whatever fleet they have. And so this is why I was so big on STNG. STNG had all its ships eco, they had scrubbers installed, and so the spread for ships with scrubbers started to go up, whereas ships that did not have scrubbers went down, meaning that those ships that had the scrubbers were going to make a lot more money per trip than a company without these scrubbers. And so the second way to play this is through the steel prices. So this is where I would be looking at aging companies who have a very old fleet but can somehow turn a profit because they can sell and scrap their ships. And so this is a theory, and this has been a thesis of mine that I've been waiting to play out for about 2 years now. What companies have very old fleets that can capitalize on very high steel prices? So the first company we're looking at here is NAT, Nordic American Tankers. Most of you shipping fans should be familiar with this company. This is a meme stock that has had a horrendous run for its entirety of a business. We had some life last year when we saw our oil prices go negative, but since that point in time, we have just been in a very long downtrend. And so in terms of a company that is going to capitalize on the future growth of shipping, this is not that stock. This is a stock that has recently got 2 contracts that are worth about $17,000 per day for 40 days, which could extend to 60 days. And so the biggest thing to understand is that this ship has a break even of 8,000. So when you're getting a contract, 2 contracts at 17,000, this company is making a surplus of money. And so now when I'm looking at the landscape of shipping, I'm looking at a lot of ships now being incentivized to scrap and use those scraps for money because of how high the steel prices have gone. That is going to take a lot of supply out of the waters, which means that the ships that are in the water are going to actually get better rates because of the lack of supply. The second is the demand that we have seen overall in the world caused by the pandemic. Demand stopped. Oil stopped being pumped by our big names in Saudi and Russia. OPEC continued to cut production, and now we are finally at a point where we are starting to increase production. And so as we start to increase production, that oil is going to have to be transported around, and a lot of these tankers are going to have to get this job done. But if there's not that many ships in the water, that means that the demand for each ship is going to go up, meaning that they're going to get paid a lot more per route. And if the demand of the oil continues to go up, there's going to be more trips to make, meaning more contracts to handle, meaning a lot more profit for each company. And so when I'm looking at NAT, has a fleet of Suezmaxes. They have a couple of good contracts. Their break-even price is very low, but their fleet is also very old. that is telling me that this company is more than likely going to scrap a lot of their ships. And when they scrap the ships, that means there's going to be a lot of money coming into the company that is going to be given out to shareholders in either dividends or share appreciation. And why I think right now is a great time to be getting into NAT is simply off a technical level, we are oversold. You can see our RSI is at a disgusting 25, extremely oversold. We were even worse yesterday at a 20. And now here we are today. When I look at all of our levels of support, our price action has been on a serious downtrend right here. You can see all of our SMAs coiled up together, but our price action is all the way down here. And so just in terms of your risk to reward right now with the type of thesis that could go along with NAT, I believe at these prices, NAT is a buy off a technical basis. That is true as well as a fundamental basis. And so if you are in the shipping industry and you're not a fan of the meme play in NAT, you don't understand the thesis behind what's actually happening and how this company could actually return a lot of great value to shareholders. The second stock I want to mention is probably my favorite pick of them all, STNG. Scorpio Tankers has been my baby from the beginning. This has been a stock that I have held through this downtrend, but then also reaped the rewards of this uptrend. And so we were in a pretty straightforward pattern here on STNG. We were in a decade-long downtrend where we kept finding resistance at this level right here. We broke past this level, we got rejected here. Once we rejected at this level, this is when I knew it was a great time to sell. I had a price target initially for STNG at around $22, $23, $24, and so that is when I was selling. And now here we are. I did expect STNG to get back all the way down to this 1580 level, which we did yesterday. And so the reason why I believe that was going to happen with STNG is because if I look at just shipping stocks in general, they have prolonged periods of an uptrend, they have a very fast drop, and then they have another prolonged period of either a downtrend or an uptrend. STNG is in a bear market right now, and the reason I say that is because during the summer times, July, August, June, May, these months, tanker rates are usually the lowest. And so if you're strictly looking at day-to-day rates, they are going to be extremely little, and that is scary for investors. And so when people see how low the rates are, they can't see the long-term thesis with shipping stocks, and this is why they get crushed so quickly. And so those people who do understand the thesis know that these are great opportunities to be loading up on the dip. Between $8 and $11, I had STNG in a couple accounts. I sold since then. I have no position right now in STNG. And so if I'm looking at this whole setup, this could be a breather for the shipping stocks for the next couple months. I do think that the huge bull run will continue and it will start to magnify in the next year. 2022 is going to be a major year for the shipping industry, and I think the fundamentals behind the scenes are finally starting to come on road here and align with the thesis. I just think that there are going to be a couple more months of down days, but just simply off a technical level with STNG, you can see we're oversold 26. Just at this point, anytime you can get a stock on its 200 on an uptrend is a great time to be loading up. And so when we're looking at STNG, again, oversold, I do think this is a great time to be buying. I still think we could see lower prices or we could see a time of consolidation. This is going to be a pesky level of resistance for us. As long as we're below this level of resistance, STNG's price is going to have a lid on it. Once the price action gets past this level of resistance, and is when we can start to see massive moves. And so that is kind of where options start to come in. If you're a long-term holder, it wouldn't be the worst idea to buy now, average down where you can, or you play this level of resistance with options, kind of like how Robert Bugbee does every other month. This guy is buying options in a down market, bull market, it doesn't really matter. This guy is just continuing to buy options. The next stock I want to mention here is TNK. And so TNK is kind of like an NAT, very old fleet, has a more diversified fleet than NAT, but this stock doesn't really have the best fleet construction. They don't have scrubbers installed. They're very outdated. They're old ships. They did reduce a lot of their debt. And so just at the price point that they are right now, with the RSI, again, they're oversold. This is going to have a beneficial run because of how old their ships are and how high the price of metal is. So when they scrap their ships, they can bring back a lot of money into their business, reduce way more debt, and give out way more money to shareholders. One thing to understand with shipping companies is that these guys give a ton of money through dividends. So when they're doing well, you're going to do well with both share appreciation and return on your investment through dividends. And so just off of a technical level, you could see we've broken down from this pattern here on TNK below all of our SMAs, ton of red, not too much green here. You could see that we are starting to get some doji candles. We should be seeing a turnaround in these stocks, but the one thing I've learned with shipping is these take a long time to start to move. Like, they could go up a bit and then drag on for a couple more months, go up a little more, drag on for a couple more months. So it's very hard to time shipping sectors because of its volatility. But if you know the thesis behind why each company has its own benefits in this market, then it's easier to make a decision. Do I think TNK is a long-term investment? It could be because of the price of steel and because of how much money they could get for their ships. Same thing with NAT. If they continue and they want to keep scrapping their ships, then that is a great buy. But if they start to buy more ships and they start to bring in more new builds, that is when I would not like to be an investor in that company. I don't want a company with new builds. I don't want a company that is starting to buy now. I wanted companies that have prepared for this moment. The STNGs that had bought eco-fleet equipped scrubbers in 2019. I want to see companies capitalize on these high steel prices and scrap their old ships and get more money on their balance sheet, clean up their balance sheet. And so I don't want to see companies that are so late to the race trying to buy ships now, because those are the companies that are going to fail in this market. And so I just wanted to go over these three main tankers. There's a lot more companies out there. You have the Hafnias, you have the OET, you have DSSI. There's just so many shipping stocks out there, but these three are stocks that I've been familiar with. I've owned all three of these stocks in the past, and I have a thesis for all three of these. And so I just wanted to make a quick video talking about these because the shipping sector is getting destroyed, but I wanted to put it on your radar because I think there is great value in what we're seeing right now in the shipping sector that is going to blossom in this decade. And so if you guys enjoyed this quick little update on this shipping sector, don't forget to like. We are on the road to 10K subs, so if you made it to this point, feel free to hit that subscription button. This is Dummy Boy Finance. I'm Dummy Boy, and I'll see you guys in the next one.